Okay, this is the Module 4 test review. This is page 102. This is your last video and your last test to practice these skills before the Module 4 test. So let's go check it out. Number 1 says, the two sides of a rectangular fence are 5 and 5/8 feet long. The other two sides are 6 and 1/4 feet long. What is the perimeter? So this is a good chance for us to review what perimeter means. So I'm going to make a little whiteboard here. I'm going to draw this fence. It says it's a rectangle, so I'm going to make two sides longer than the other two. Then I'm going to label the short side, says 5 and 5/8. And the short sides are 6 and 1/4. And we're going to use a little common sense here. Perimeter means to add up all four sides. And let's look at our four answer options. I haven't done the math yet, but let's look at our answer options. We've got 11 and 7/8. That means it's about 12. We've got 13. We've got 23, or rounds up to 24. We've got 35. And those answers aren't really necessarily all that close together. So why don't we maybe just do a little rounding? 6 and 1/4 would round down to 6. 6 and 1/4 would round down to 6. So if I add up these two sides, I'd get 6 plus 6, that's 12. And this would round to up to 6, or it wouldn't even matter if I round it down to 5, but this rounds to 6, and this rounds to 6. So this is about 6, this is about 6, this is about 6, and this is about 6. So my total is going to be about 24. Could the answer be A, 11 and 7/8? It's not even close to 24. How about B, 13? It's not even close to 24. C says 23 and 3/4. That is very close to 4. D says 35 and 5/32. That's not right. The answer is C. The answer is C just because we estimated. That's probably the best way to do this one, just to save time, and it's totally accurate enough. All right, let's check out number 2. All right, number 2 reads, which shows the GCF of 18 and 24 with 18/24 in simplest form. So if we write 18/24 in simplest form, well, simplify means to divide. So we're going to divide, and it tells us what to divide by. We're going to divide by the greatest common factor. So what is the greatest common factor? Well, what goes into 18 and 24? 3 does, 3 does, 6 does, and 6 does. Well, let's go ahead and divide by 6 because it says divide by the greatest common factor. So if we divide by 6, I get 18 divided by 6 is 3, and 24 divided by 6 is 4. The answer is C. 6, that's the greatest common factor, and 18 and 24 simplify to 3/4. So we divide by the GCF, and we simplify to 3/4. That's how this makes sense. We're dividing by 6, and we simplify to 3/4. All right, let's move on. Number 3. A jar contains 133 pennies. A bigger jar contains 1 2/7 times as many pennies. What is the value of the pennies in the bigger jar? So we're going to multiply 133 by 1 2/7, which is probably easier than it looks, as long as I can remind you how to do this. 133 is the same as 133 over 1. We're going to multiply that by 1 times 7. We've got to make this an improper fraction here. 1 times 7 is 7, plus 2 is 9. You get 9/7. And then what we've got to ask ourselves is, can we simplify first? So we're going to try to simplify 133 and 7 to see if they share a factor. And the factors of 7 are 1 and 7. So we essentially need to see if 133 and 7 share a factor of 7. So I'm going to divide 133 by 7. 7 goes into 13 only once. 1 times 7 is 7. I get 6, and I drop this 3, and I have now 7 goes into 63 9 times. 9 times 7 is 63. So it does simplify. 133 divided by 7 is 19. 7 divided by 7 is 1. So now I have 19 times 9 over 1 times 1. 1 times 1 is clearly 1. 19 times 9 is, I don't know, so I'm going to do it right here. 9 times 9 is 81. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 8 is 17. I get 171 over 1. So that's my answer. It's 171. But how much money is that? Because you have 4 options here. You got $1.49, $1.52, $1.68, and $1.71. It's going to be $1.71 because 100 is a dollar. 100 pennies is a dollar, and then 71 more pennies makes $1.71. The answer is D, $1.71. All right, question number 4. Which of these is the same as 3/5 divided by 4/7? Do you remember how to do when you have a division sign? You multiply the reciprocal. So if I multiply the reciprocal, now I'm going to look for this problem in my options. 3/5 times 4/7. It's C. Nope, it's D. There's 3/5. That never changes. Look, let's examine this carefully. 3/5 doesn't change. 3/5 doesn't change. What does change is it becomes multiply, and then the 4/7 became 7/4. So we got to examine carefully. It is D. Cool, let's move on. Number 5 says, Andy has 6 2/3 cups of juice. How many 2/3 cup servings can he pour? That is division. We're going to divide 6 2/3 by 2/3. And we just talked about the rule, so we're going to end up multiplying by the reciprocal. But what we got to do here is we got to change this into an improper fraction. So that is 6 times 3 is 18, plus 2 is 20. You get 20/3. Now we have all sorts of things that can simplify. The 3 and the 3 share a factor of 3, so we're going to divide those by 3 and get 1 and 1. And 20 and 2 simplify. 2 goes into itself once, and 2 goes into 20 10 times. Now I have 10 times 1 is 10, over 1 times 1 is 1. The answer is D, 10 servings he can make. All right, we're done with the left column. Let's go ahead and go to the right column. Move my whiteboard over here. Now we can see numbers 6 and 7. Number 6, I really like this question. What is the reciprocal of 3 3/7? I'm going to go ahead and do it wrong. This is definitely not the way we do it. Check this out. 3 3/7, the reciprocal of that is not 3 7/3. That's not how we do this. I know what you're doing here. You're not taking this 3 and putting it down in the 7 and putting it up. That's not the way it works here. So I'm going to put a big X on that. Now I'm going to change back to black and do it correct. To do the reciprocal of 3 3/7, the first thing you have to do is you have to change this into an improper fraction. 3 times 7 is 21, plus 3 is 24. So this is equal to 24/7. Then, to do the reciprocal, you invert the numerator and denominator. So the reciprocal of 24/7 is 7/24. So the reciprocal of 3 3/7 is 7/24. It's A, 7/24. All right, number 7. Let's see if we have enough room on our whiteboard for this one. A rectangular patio has a length of 12.5 feet and an area of 103 1/8 square feet. What is the width of the patio? Do you remember that if we know the area, we end up dividing by the length that we do know, which is 12.5, and that will get us the width. So over here on my whiteboard, I'm going to divide 103 1/8 by 12.5. And it's definitely harder than it looks. I mean, it's definitely easier than it looks. It looks brutal, but it's not really that bad. We're going to use a calculator for this one just a little bit, and to both change 103 1/8 into an improper fraction, but also to simplify. So if I do 103 times 8, I get 824 plus this one right here makes 825 over 8. I divide that by 12 times 2 is 24 plus 1 is 25 over 2. And then I'm going to immediately multiply the reciprocal. So I'm going to invert that to 2/25. Now we do have a lot that simplifies here. 2 and 8 simplifies to 1 and 4. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. And 25 and 825 share a factor. 825 divided by 25 is 33. So this simplifies to 33 because 825 divided by 25 is 33. 25 divided by 25 is 1. And all of that complication ends up being 33 times 1 is 33. Over 4 times 1 is 4. And 33/4 is an improper fraction. It means 33 divided by 8, or 4 is 8. 8 times 4 is 32, so I add 1 to get to 33. So it's 8 1/4. The answer is 8 1/4. It's B. All right, couple more. Number 8. Which number is greater than the absolute value of negative 3/8? Well, the absolute value of negative 3/8 is how far it is from 0. The absolute value of that is the same number, 3/8, but with no negative sign. The absolute value of negative 3/8 is 3/8. Now I'm looking for a number, which number is greater than that? Is negative 5/8 greater? No, because this is positive and this is negative, so negative 5/8 is not greater. Negative 1/8 is also not greater. 1/4 is positive, 0.5 is positive, so it's going to be one of those. Let's think about 1/4. Is 1/4 bigger or is 3/8 bigger? It's hard to compare, so we're going to use the less than or the greater than sign here. So we're just checking C right now. It's hard to compare when they have different denominators, so watch what I can do. I can double this, and I would get 2/8. Now it's easy to compare. 2/8 and 3/8 have the same denominator, and 3 is more than 2, so 3/8 is greater. So this one is not greater. Now, why is D the right answer? Well, because 0.5 is equal to a half. We should have memorized that from before. And a half would be like half a pizza, and if we have 8 slices of pizza, that would be 4/8. 4/8 is equal to a half. Is 4/8 or 3/8 greater? Well, 4/8 is greater. And that's what this question asks. Which number is greater than the absolute value of negative 3/8? Well, the absolute value of negative 3/8 is 3/8, and 0.5 would be 4/8, so it's bigger. Kind of a tough problem, but hopefully that made sense to you. All right, we are going to check out the mini task. All right, I changed my mind. We are actually going to skip the mini task. Go ahead and put the word skip here, and we are done with this page. And you are now ready for your test. Good job.